I am Nikki B.
And I'm just Joseph.
And we're the hosts of Futureland365 right here on 95.9 WOVU.
Hey, and we just finished up with the international fashion designer, Jevon Terance. And he brought it today. He brought a lot of his fashion journey and how he got to where he is today. So you do not want to miss this episode.
Miss this episode. Peace. All right, you all, awesome and amazing day. Welcome to Futureland365 podcast and radio show, where we spotlight Cleveland's bold innovators, entrepreneurs, and creators. I am Nikki B.
And I'm just Joseph.
Hey, Joseph.
How you doing?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm excited to be back. We got some great things to talk about on today's show, so I hope the listeners are ready. And we've been having some amazing guests on here, haven't we?
Oh, my goodness. So many great guests.
Yeah,
like taking in so much. I feel like I have a journal,
right.
like a workbook, on how to, to sustain and be a creator, innovator, and all those good things. So
I think for me, it's been like the most rewarding thing is just how much, we get to learn by being in the seats as the host. It's just so many amazing guests that we have, and I'm excited to introduce everybody to who we have today. But we've had, people from, in the business world that talk about the mindset of a millionaire. We talk about people who have created their own apps. We have tech innovators. We have people who started nonprofits and businesses from just the ground up, from scratch. And it's just really exciting to hear the passion behind, and the stories of how everything has gotten started with a lot of people. And so, we're gonna dive into some more stories today.
Yes, I'm excited about this. I don't know if you all could tell, but I know we're on camera here. So Joseph is always fly. I think I'm in my own lane, right? The girls always say, you're always so chic. I'm like, okay, thanks, girl, right? Yeah. And I think that's so important because you have your own style.
Right.
I have my own style, right?
Yeah.
So today,
let's talk
we're
about style.
talking about fashion and style, right?
Yeah.
Fashion beyond borders, the artistry of Mr. Jevon Terance.
Welcome, brother.
Yes.
Welcome to the building. Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. We're excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Some traits down of what we're doing.
Yeah, share some gems and some of your expertise, share your story and your journey and how long you've been in the game and what you've learned. How did you apply those lessons? All good things, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, who you are, like your early inspiration, and now you're like international. How did we get there?
Right.
Yeah, it's been a long, not long, but 18 years. And like we were talking earlier, I think fashion keeps me looking young, so that's a good thing.
It does, because you look young. I was like, 18 years. Okay, you look 18.
Even though we stress ourselves out a lot.
Yeah.
But I started my journey as a sneaker designer in 4th grade. I really started to get the liking of sneakers watching Michael Jordan as a kid in the 90s. Growing up in that era, the pop culture era, and from being a basketball player myself, and having a basketball family, that was everyday life. So I got into sneakers really heavy. And then making my mom buy myself $150 sneakers.
Oh my goodness, the pressure that we put our parents under.
You don't even think about that. But sneaker culture, got into sneakers. I kept up with that through junior high and high school, and before practice, I would be making 3D models of sneakers, wanting to work for Nike, and that was the foundation of how I got to be a fashion designer.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, very cool.
3D models of shoes, right?
And the guys would be laughing like, man, what you doing over there, man? You gotta do your homework. And they paid it no mind, but it's funny. I have classmates come up to me like, I remember you sketching in class. I'm like, yeah. And
That's
I remember
it.
people laughing. And now I'm a known designer.
Yeah.
Look at me now.
Yeah.
Look at me now, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
So
Yeah, talk a little bit about that, like where that passion came from to even start, diving into that artistic side of yourself.
So I was always into art, so I took all my art classes that you could take through high school. And then my first year out of high school, I was an art major in my first year of college at community college. And so I got to learn color theory, how to sketch, how to do sketching of figures, learn more about anatomy in the body. And so that was a really good foundation, because now, fast forward, I create my own fabrics, because having that art background, even though I kind of taught myself graphic design, but like, even though it's not fully graphic design, it's good to know like if you need to paint a print, I can just get a canvas and paint my print, and it's original and authentic. I don't have to go to a fabric store and buy something that's just, created from another artist or Google.
Right.
Right, because I think a lot of times when you are transferring creativity, it may get a little diluted. It's not as strong or as potent as you would like it to be coming directly from you. So, no, that's good. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
and we were talking a little off the air, and you were sharing with me that your dad played bass, or
so he played the bass guitar. He would drive us crazy playing the bass guitar. Pretty loud, he heavy in church too growing up. So coming from a Baptist church, going to church, and just him being involved and listening to Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, going up on the music. So I put music into culture, the pop culture, and sneakers, and all these things now help me when I'm doing fashion show production. Listen to hours and hours of music, trying to tell the story through music and fashion for my audience.
Right.
It's really deep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's good.
Talk about music, because that's a big. I love the similarities of like just the stories of like basketball. I can relate to you in that.
Yeah.
Now you talk about the music.
Yeah.
Those are two worlds that I engulf a lot of my time in as well. To talk about how the influence of music on art, because you see the two are really they go together.
Yeah. So watching music videos. We didn't have social media growing up, so music and movies. So watching those videos on 106 and Park, MTV, it's kind of, I'm aging myself, but it is what it is.
Those are good times, right?
If you don't know
visually,
about
those were great times.
Yeah, we would be waiting for those videos to drop on like Fridays.
They would tease us with those little snippets, like, dang, or
So-
not play the whole one.
Yeah, those videos meant a lot with just the culture of dressing, going to school, looking good. I just went and spoke to 8th graders 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, they're wearing pajamas to school. And it's like, ooh, we used to really like take pride into getting dressed for school. But now social media fills that gap, so they'll get all dolled up and
For
stuff,
social
or
media.
G'd out for social media, but like it doesn't.
Translate to the
into
person,
school,
the actual in person.
So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
glad-
something that we're missing. So
Yeah, I'm glad I got to grow up in the 90s and early 2000s as a high schooler.
100%.
Yeah.
right. So with the the tennis shoes, and now you're into fashion, how did that translate from tennis shoes to clothing?
Yeah.
Like, were you making your own clothes, or clothes weren't fitting you? How did that?
I just kind of got bored with sneaker design. I was customizing sneakers for my friends and started becoming a little business with that. And that's how I really got known, actually, in the streets. Go to Jevon, he'll do your sneakers. But I was finding out business-wise that sneakers were taking me really long. Like, it would take me like 2 weeks to do a sneaker. And then as I got into fashion, I would go to the thrift store, deconstruct pieces, and then remake it. And I'm like, I can make clothing faster than customizing sneakers. So I was like done with that.
Right,
Business
right.
And my sneakers, it wasn't even a company because we never LLC'd it, but it was called Kiss My Customs. And that was based off
That's
of
cute.
the movie Last Dragon. That was my favorite movie.
Funny.
In 1985 it came out, and the character in the movie, his name is Show Enough. He's like, kiss my Converse. So I was like, I need to do Kiss My Customs.
You kind of remind me. You kind of give that vibe. Show Enough. Yeah.
Okay.
You
I
give
thought I
the
was
Show
more of a
Enough
Bruce
vibe.
Leroy kind of laid back. But
Maybe it's two. Maybe it's both of them.
It's a mix. But I love that movie growing up, so that's how that came about. But I had to kind of put a stop to sneakers and just fully dive into fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we were talking a little bit too about the name and how the name came about. Can you enlighten our audience on how the name Jevon Terance came about?
Are you who you say you are?
I had a lot of corny names that I was writing out, like concrete crack because of sneakers. You hit the ground and the concrete or crack because the sneaker is really hot. I was like, I can't make this a brand, So that actually is funny because I mentor now. We have an internship program with Kent State, and I tell my interns, like, really take your name into account of before you drop a brand, because it means a lot to you. And if it doesn't have a story, that's fine. But, like, I'll hear brands, and it has nothing to do with their whole persona, and I hear like brands, they want to sound Italian or sound French, and it's like, okay, all right. But with my name Jevon Terance, Jevon is my middle name and Terance is a nickname. My real name is Aaron, and last name is Simmons. So all these names, my family like, what do you want me to call you? I'm like, you're my family, Aaron.
Right. Yeah.
But I wanted that name to be able to be said around the world and have some weight to it. So I would be in the basement. I was on my dad's pool table making clothes, just like acting this stuff out like my brand was overseas.
Yeah. That's I think that's really important there when you are when you tap into the vision part of it, right? I heard Will Smith say this in an interview before. Go start from the end in mind and work your way back. And it sounds like, although you got started in the beginning with the tennis shoes and things like that, but once you crossed over, transitioned, I would say, into clothing, you started to visualize. You knew exactly what you wanted it to look like. You knew what, in a sense, you knew what client
for sure.
you wanted, and your name is so intentional. It's so good. It's Jevon Terance.
I really love that because that really speaks to me as somebody who has recently gone through a name change or a transition myself from Trey Lewis into who is this Just Joseph guy,
which
Joseph.
I really like that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I know, right? It's so good.
Yeah, but it
it's so
represents who I am at my core, and for so many times you want to build a identity or image or something else, but Joseph is actually my birth name. It's my government name, and it's personal to who I am. So hearing you choose that, and now seeing that name, in different places of the world, it has to be something that your family is proud of, and it means a lot. Versus, if it was just something like concrete. What were you calling it?
Concrete.
You had bubblegum. What was another one?
Bubblegum soul.
Those are cool names, but it doesn't hit home as much.
Yeah, it doesn't have weight. This has weight, and it's real. And
then the Terance side of it is my uncle. He passed away. He was in the military, so
legacy.
I always try to legacy that. Do something in the fatigue print for myself once a year and rock it, or
I
just
love
have that storyline of family.
Especially you see
the big brands. I'm sorry. The big brands, they do that. Dolce & Gabbana.
There you go.
Like they keep their family history going.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, things have moved past like the trendy names into actually something with substance. You even look in, the Louis Vuittons, you have the Marc Jacobs, right? You have these names that have. We look at them and just think they've always been, but no, that started as somebody with a vision, just like as your brand is.
For sure.
And even in the music game, you had people, a couple years back who had all these trendy names, but now you see the Kendrick Lamars, right? They're just using their name, their first and last name, and I think it's a humility to it, and it's also a realness to it and a vulnerability that people are like, I just rock with who you are.
That's it.
And I want to support what you're doing, and I see you doing that, and it's really cool. And then also I saw one of the hoodies the one of the hoodies you have is this black one with Jevon across it. I got to get it for my wife because I told you her name is Jevon. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna go ahead and
which
make
is
that
funny
purchase.
because when I started doing shows a lot in Cleveland, I didn't have anything with logos or my name on it because I wanted to be known as a designer that has really good fashion without having to hardcore brand it until recently, like 3 years ago, where I kind of revamped my logo and started to research Dapper Dan. So my last collection was heavy on monograms because we want to get that out there in the name. That's just a sidebar.
Yeah, that's nice.
No, that's
Yeah.
good. It's actually a good segue into what I wanted to ask you. And I know that you're from Lorraine, right?
Yeah.
Born and raised. Is that correct?
Yeah, L-Town.
Yeah.
Still city.
Okay, L-Town in the building.
That's what's up.
So I seen that you made history. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I drive my wife crazy because I'm the artistic side of the brand and she's the realistic side of it.
Operations, business side.
Yeah, like it'd be hardcore winter and I'm like, you know what? I think I want to do a show at the Lighthouse in the summer or I want to do a show on the bridge. And she's like, okay, we got to get in the planning mode now.
Right.
And so, yeah, I did make history because it's intentional to do that in Lorraine to kind of set a bar. And sometimes I'll set that bar really high for myself, but it's the challenge of it, you know? So I wanted to do that in my hometown city because I was coming to the big city in Cleveland, which I love, but there's so many creatives now kind of spread out. So I'm like, you know what? Let's spotlight our city and do shows at places that are landmarks in Lorraine. So I kind of went on a landmark tour the last 10 years.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
And you talk about, having these big visions and being super creative and things like that. And your wife is the other side of it, which is a great combination. We love that because us creatives, sometimes we need to, hey, how can this actually work out? We need a strategic plan for this to play out. So what challenges have you experienced within this time being, the designer, the international designer that you are? Any major challenges that you can think of now?
From the start, it was tough for me to get people to believe in the brand. Being a basketball player and being known as a basketball player and going into something that's creative was like a big transition. You're making dresses?
Right.
You're making men's clothes too?
From basketball to dresses. Okay.
Then, so it's that's a tough transition for like the dudes that hang, you're on the court and stuff. And then like I was dating my girlfriend and her friends would be like, so is your boyfriend gay because he's making clothes?
For sure.
So that was an obstacle, just getting through. I kind of became an education as a designer from the start. I feel like I had to have a strong skin because like in Lorain County, fashion wasn't trending. Also in Cleveland in a way. So I had to like do a lot of proving to people. So I had to like wear that on my back. But obstacles wise, I ran the brand for 3 years and it wasn't on the business mindset. So 2012 came around and that's when through a pop-up shop initiative in Lorraine, I got to have a brick and mortar.
Wow.
So I had to go into businessman's side of, and just not leave all the creativeness of it, but a lot of people joke about creatives and like they just want to do the creative stuff and not do the business. So
right. Yeah.
I had to jump into that life and actually become a business person. So that was an obstacle at first, I ain't gonna lie, but because I didn't have any business school backing, so had to learn that very quick at a fast pace. And we had our store and, you're making pieces for people. So I mean that, and I try not to run into many obstacles, but with manufacturing, things like that, when I first started, you're wasting money because you don't know the game. So you can waste money really quick unless you pick up on it or ask mentors about stuff. So
right.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, I'm really curious about this here. So you said you had to learn the business side of it really quickly, and you were introduced at a pop-up shop. Was there like a program or was there a mentor there for you
No mentor.
How did that? Yeah. So I'm like, how did you learn this business?
Yeah,
What?
so no mentor, but luckily the city of Lorain had a pop-up shop program through the city of Lorain. So they would force landlords that had vacant storefronts to let a business try out their brand for 2 months for rent free.
Okay.
Which was really cool. So I called up my mother-in-law I was dating my girlfriend, but she's my mother-in-law now. I called her up like, I'm interested about this, and luckily I had a day off because I was working another job and running my brand. But long story short, went to the city, got the paperwork, picked the location, took a photo, sent it to my wife like, this is our store. And then it didn't have anything. It was bare, so we had to get carpet, all that stuff.
Okay.
And become a store within 2 weeks because they wanted the pop-up to be ready for Thanksgiving.
Wow.
So we had to get merch. So I looked at the store photos from now as like a bunch of T-shirts and then a little rack of like miscellaneous pieces that I made up to that point. So I had to turn the business hat on quick.
Yeah, I love it.
Super quick.
This is a very interesting and insightful conversation we have, and we're learning a lot about, artistry and what it takes to be an entrepreneur in this space. And we got a lot more to discuss, but we're gonna go to break, and when we come back, we're gonna jump into like your really creative process,
the fun stuff.
Yeah, yes.
So we'll be right back, and we're gonna dive right into it.
Take a second to look around. I can feel the
All right, you all. Welcome back to Futureland365 podcast and radio show right here on 95.9 WOVU. I am Nikki B.
And just Joseph.
Yes, and we are back, you all. We are refreshed. We heard our guy Jevon Terance. I was about to say Taylor. Who's Taylor? I don't know
Taylor.
who Taylor.
Taylor close.
He's Taylor. He's a Taylor.
He does it all.
So we heard about, some of his challenges, how he got started, his inspirations, and that was insightful. Thank you for sharing those things. And one of the things that I love is how you had to actually learn the business quickly as a creative.
Oh yeah,
that was amazing. So with that, now we want to tap into your creative process, because now we're in the store. We have a store now. At least it was a pop-up at the time.
Yeah.
So what does your creative process look like? Do you get inspired by seeing a rock, something your wife has on, or do you see something someone had on in the street? What does that look like?
So I start with a foundation when we're going into a year. Now I have to start earlier because it doesn't take like a whole year just to design a whole collection. So I start based off the year I'm in with the Jordan that was in that year. So if I'm going into year 18, we dissect the Jordan 18. We've been doing that for almost a year.
Nice.
And so my interns will pull research, print out a bunch of different photos of the Jordan 18. That's my foundation. So cause that keeps my sneaker roots to me.
Yes, I love that.
The really cool thing was last year was a Jordan 17, which was inspired by jazz. The sneaker was inspired by jazz, and it came packaged in a steel suitcase. So we remade briefcases from scratch. We really dove into it. We dove into Harlem Renaissance, the jazz movement. And like I said, I was in researching a lot with Dapper Dan, because the Harlem Renaissance and Dapper Dan and the 80s and stuff like that. So I like to have that as the foundation. And, with the Jordan 18, it's inspired by a dress shoe. It's clean, not a lot going on. Dress shoe racing. The dress shoes based off Italian culture. So we've been researching a lot. I try to add in little things that I'm feeling that's going on in my life as almost a 40-year-old man, and try to do things within the brand that can tell a story as well. So not to get too political, I try to do that with the music and the vibe and telling the Black designer story.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. And telling a story, I love how you're sticking to your roots and having that foundation. I think that's so important too, right? And wow, I'm still stuck on the Jordan. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So now this is where we are. We're creating the collection. How do you translate that to the runway?
So recently I had to break my brand into 3 different categories because I love runway, but it's like people will go to the show and I feel like it's a little intimidating. So I try to mix red carpet runway with everyday wear, which drives me crazy kind of, because like you, as an artist, you want to just do one thing and do it really well.
Okay, I
but
see.
I find myself having to design more toned down pieces so we can actually sell them as well. So it's like you don't want to close off your creative process as an artist to dumb down for sales. So I mix it up now. We started doing that the last 3 years. So it could be something crazy on top, but then we underlayer it with something basic, a nice clean fabric. Because I watch guys don't like to wear print a lot. I like to wear print. I feel I can get away with a lot of fashion, but I'll sit back and watch my friends and kind of dissect what they're wearing in the summer, what they're wearing in the fall. And then I'm like, okay, not me telling them because they'll get a big head.
Right.
I'll put it into my I'll put it into my collection and then just try to see what people are wearing and actually be realistic. Because when I started my brand in 2007, nothing against other designers, but they were making all red carpet pieces when I would do shows in Cleveland. And I'm like, I need to design everyday wear too. Yeah. So I wanted to do that on a high level, everyday wear.
No, I love that. And it brings, it's coming here and here. Not saying that anyone is up here or anyone is down here, but it's bringing that levity to it. I was looking at your Valentine collection there. I was like, I can wear all those pieces pretty much anywhere, right? I can add something to it, take something away, add a tennis shoe, add a pump, or whatever it is. So I can see that you've done that. And so great work letting the girls and the guys know you don't have to be a fashion model to wear these items, as well as we were talking before, it's affordable. Right? The pieces are affordable. And I can understand, I can see that, with your height, your stature, like I was talking about, you bring that show enough energy to a space. So I can understand that and see that, but I think a lot of times too that's a reflection of the individual. So keep up the great work. I think that's great. I can't wait to get tailored.
Yeah, for sure. There's always has to be layers to fashion. Like I said, you can go 0 to 100 all the time. And now I do bring it up a notch when I dress in New York, but it's like we gotta understand your market and your economics around you.
Oh, that's a great segue, because I want to hop into a little bit about understanding the market, because you had mentioned that the fashion industry is constantly changing, and here at Futureland, we like to talk about innovation. We like to talk about what are the future trends, what's coming up, what should we get prepared for, and you talk a lot about research and how important is that, and what are the trends that you are constantly seeing in the fashion industry?
Man, I'm constantly seeing young kids taking chances. It is almost like a one-up type of culture. I grew up where in my mind I wasn't doing something crazy, but then it would stand out like whoa, but now I feel like even with older people, it's just like they're wearing 3D pieces, like you never really would see that stuff. So the trends, and I've been trying to stay up on it, and it's good that I have younger interns around me a lot, is like technology is the next trend in fashion. You have AI, so I go to these seminars in New York, and they're telling me as a designer to embrace AI and not shy away from it, because it's the new internet from the 90s. And, the baby boomers that didn't get into the internet, they're like having anxiety, having to do presentations and things like that on the computer. So I can't shy away from that. So we've been integrating technology. I've been working in the Create Space and Fab Lab in my city. We've been working with 3D, laser printing, making earrings, bags, laser cutting fabric, and just trying to stay in the know. And I feel like sometimes I'm priority behind, because it's like I'm not around it a lot. So you have to put yourself in those rooms as well.
That's
so technology is
exactly
is the wave,
Yeah, it's like because you're so authentic and you're staying true to who you are and what you believe and what you do, that your fashion transcends generations. Yeah.
It has to be timeless too.
Yeah,
So it's
right. It's timeless, and that's huge. I think that's why you're able to sustain. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like that's what that is.
Yeah, timeless. I'll look back at pieces from like 10 years ago, and I'm like, oh wow, probably actually pulled it from our archives. You know, so I love art, but there's a certain line you have to draw as an artist. Actually, too. It's like, okay, I want to wear these things too. You know, in real life.
Right, in real life.
Yeah, in real life, you know.
You know, right, exactly. For the top that I have on today, not everyone is going to wear something like this, or they may think, oh, I never would have thought to wear that to the office or something. And it's not even risque or whatever, but to have jewels in it and prints and it's this and that. So, yeah, I think that's important. I've seen a lot of your pieces like, oh, I can wear that to the office as well as wear it to the play, wear it somewhere else to the red carpet if I add a little sparkle or a little something extra to that. So that's...
And I think influence is also big on celebrities, right? Because you're wearing tweed. And guys, I never would see pieces made for guys in tweed, but, you know, rappers start wearing Chanel.
Yes,
Chanel
it's
is
true.
big with tweed. And, you know, so then we as men start to feel more comfortable.
Like,
oh, I could wear
I can rock that.
a flare sweat. Oh,
I appreciate the
guys-
fashionista pointing out what I got on. And you know
got
what
the
I'm saying?
tweed on, my
Made
guy.
me feel good. The brother does this, and
Right.
he peeps something on me, so I must be doing something all right.
Yep.
So
I
fellas, you
caught
could
that.
wear tweed.
Yes.
I didn't even know that's what this was.
So
I
it's
got
a
little
comfortable,
tweed
you
on.
know.
All right.
He didn't know what it was.
A comfortable
Jevon?
thing with celebrities, you know, and their style is pushing the limit and then making the consumer feel more comfortable.
Right.
You know, I had bright red hair in 2008. My parents hated it. I would go to clubs. I am not going to name the clubs. And the people that were at the door, but they were like, yeah, $20 extra for you.
Oh, red hair.
Causing
Yeah.
a scene.
So, you know, going through a lot with that and just like taking chances as a actual male designer is like, now I actually am excited for that because like guys can be more at a vulnerable state in fashion and be able to take some chances and
Gotta take risks.
colors and things
Right.
like that. But I'm telling you, early 2000s guys would be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it pays off when you when you strike.
Right.
But I mean that's the industry in itself. Like and I look at a lot of athletes and what they decide to wear, and sometimes I be like, yo, what are they doing? They pulling up to games and it don't even make sense what they got on.
Yeah,
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But then some days they like no that
They
that
be
brother
on point,
it, you know
right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But it's a very risky, industry. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about that because you talk about how competitive it is and it's like a one-up nature within it. So what are some of your strategies that help you to stay competitive? And this also might be for some other aspiring, other people in the fashion industry as well. Like they probably like, man, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I think, a lot of brands and people that want to start brands, they ask me how to even get started. And I always say I started with one shirt that I created and just try to push that really hard and just to get the brand going and get a name buzzing. But, I think that, when you're taking chances also on top of that and being yourself and being, like I said, timeless and really taking time to research what you really want to do in fashion. Yeah. Are you a graphic designer, which is fine? Are you a merch designer? Because that's a different thing as well. Because merch can be one up from graphic. And or are you just a runway designer? So just knowing the different dynamics and how fashion works is always key. And keeping a mentor around you. I didn't have a mentor. Cleveland was my mentor. Doing shows in clubs, I had to learn a lot on my own because there was no other designers that I knew personally.
Wow.
And so, if you're in school, internship program, we have one. But now you can reach out to so many people on social media. When I was doing shows, it was all in person. It was like, who knows who? Who can I talk? And then at that point, I was like, I'm just gonna learn this stuff on my own.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
I hope
man.
that answers the question.
It absolutely does. And so I'm interested in purchasing some pieces, especially I
Me
told you my
too.
wife has the same
same
name,
name. I
Jevon, spells
love
it the
that.
same way. And so I know she gonna be wanting to rock some of your stuff. So where can people like myself go to purchase some of your pieces?
Yeah, we have the website www.jevonterance.com. We have Facebook Market, Instagram Market, in person. The big one, people love to come in the boutique because our boutique is showroom and workroom. It's New York style, so you get to see us cutting the pieces. We're measuring you. Fire. We also do alterations.
And where's that located?
Downtown Lorraine, Ohio, right next to the Palace Theater.
Cool.
It's a known Palace Theater. It's been there since 1930. Yeah, it's crazy.
We're gonna have
beautiful.
to pull up on the spot.
I think so too.
We should do a whole special.
Yeah.
Do
Bring
a
the
whole
cameras
thing.
out.
I think this
That'd be
deserves
cool.
a documentary style.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, man. Hopefully, in 2 years, we're working on a documentary for 20-year anniversary.
20 years,
so.
man. Anybody that's been able to stay consistent for as long as you have, man, we wanna give you your flowers and honor
Thank
you today,
I appreciate
man.
that. I really do.
Round of applause for you.
And people can always reach out to. A kid called me today. He's like, I didn't think you would answer. He's a high school kid. And he's just throwing these questions at me. I'm like, you guys, I don't mind it though. You want to be approachable.
Yeah,
So
that's
especially
right.
here, like I didn't have mentors, so I want people to be able to ask questions.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't know where I read it, what article, but I heard that. Well, I read that the adult that we are today is the adult that we were looking for when we were, an adolescent or a child. So that's kudos to you for being that mentor that
Thank
you did
you.
not have. And I heard you earlier talk about, I don't want to go too far, but I was curious about, you said that you have a course or a class that you teach at Kent State. Is that right?
So we have an internship program.
Oh,
so
internship program.
We have interns that rotate every semester with us. So they come into the boutique. They drive an hour, but it's worth it, I tell them.
Yeah.
And then once your name gets more known, then you have a whole line of kids that want to intern with the brand, which is really cool. And they become part of the family. They get to make their own Jevon Terance work shirts and leave with a piece and things like that. But sidebar, I'm so involved in the city of Lorraine. It's pretty crazy. I'm on Main Street board, Port Authority board. You have to be you don't have to be involved, but I chose to be involved since I have a business in Lorraine, to be involved, to make, or try to have good things come to the city and be involved in it and have a seat at the table when you're a young Black guy.
That's right. That's so important because you have to have a pulse, right? If you have a business, especially if you're minority, Black man, whatever that is, you want to have a seat at the table so you know what's going on.
For
so you can tell your people, because even a lot of times, all of us being at the table, we probably won't even understand what they're talking about. But you're able to take that information, break it down, and share it with your people, right? Because you understand your market, you know your consumer, your client, things like that. Well, JT, this was amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for sharing your story. This was insightful. Me and Just Joseph will be coming down because we need to get tailored. I want one of those Jevon Taylor suits. Yeah, man. I can rock that thing. Yeah.
And then I will be involved at Cleveland Fashion Week, new brand.
Hey.
We'll be coming back this summer. I will be involved in that, so look out for that.
Yes,
I am a strong supporter of that.
I love that.
Awesome.
And bringing good fashion to Cleveland.
And when is that? When I know it's the summer.
That will be in the middle of July for 4 days straight. They're doing a show at Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, City Hall. I was part of that show last year, and Joe Koo was in my collection wearing my pieces.
I saw that.
And
the Chief, shout out to the Chief.
Yeah, so
That's
he was a really
dope.
good model, try to get him on the bridge,
dude.
Yeah,
Right.
That's awesome.
But so keep a lookout for that. I'm doing my show early June on the bridge downtown Lorraine. Tickets go pretty quick, so it's these shows are all New York style, even with Cleveland. So I'm so glad that we've got to that point of having New York Fashion Week level shows here.
Yeah, I love that. And thanks to you.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is Jevon Terance, the one and only.
Thank
What
you.
a
One and
blessing
only.
having him on the Futureland 360 podcast and radio show. So, Nikki B, there was a lot of takeaways that I learned from this man today, and I've also been inspired by him. What were some of your takeaways?
Oh my gosh, there's so many takeaways. My key takeaway is that you have to pivot fashionably, right? So you don't have to steer too far away from your foundation, right? Whatever that foundation is, build on that. That's exactly what you did, especially having the love of the Jordan shoe, and now you apply that in your collection, kind of creating them depending on the year of the Jordan shoe, right?
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
So we're in
cool
25,
process.
so it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
oh, it's Jordan 25
Yeah, yeah.
collection, right? Or the
Yeah.
idea
Right.
of that. So needling the thread, if you will, right? Tailoring from the beginning to the now. I
Yeah.
love that. So
Yeah.
that's my takeaway.
Yeah, what I took away was just the ability to do the research, to constantly grow and evolve, but at the same time be able to stay, authentic to yourself. And so that's
Yes.
what I took a lot from his story and how he presents himself. And just a fun interview.
It was
really
creative.
cool.
I love that.
Very creative. And that's what Futureland is all about. So
Yes.
make sure the listeners out there, you are subscribing to our YouTube channel. We are dropping the podcast on there. Make sure you are following us on our social media platforms at Futureland CLE. Go to our website, www.futurelandcle.com, and make sure you subscribe to our newsletter so you can stay informed. And, we're a big family here, and we want to make sure that y'all are up to date with all the amazing things that is happening here at Futureland 365. So, Nikki B, you got anything else for them?
No, that is it. That's all you all. Futureland 365 radio and podcast show where we spotlight Cleveland's bold innovators, entrepreneurs, and creators. That is it, you all. Peace.
Peace. We out.
Bye.
Moving on, yeah. Moving on, Futureland, what's up, yeah.